She laughed while saying it. A short, careless laugh that cut deeper than a knife. 25 or 35 guests, who cares? Just cook. In that moment, something inside me went silent. And when I took off my apron, everything changed. I still remember the smell in the kitchen that evening. Onions sizzling in hot oil. Garlic crushed under my palm. Chicken simmering slowly, the way it always did when I wanted it to taste like love. I was standing over the stove, sweat on my forehead, my feet aching, my back stiff from hours of standing. The clock on the wall said 6:42 p.m. The guests would arrive by 7:30. That was when she walked in. But before we go there, let me ask you something first. Quick pause, talk to me in the comments. Before this story pulls you in too deep, drop a comment right now and tell me, what time is it where you're watching from? What country or city are you watching from? And please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, share this story with someone who might need it. Alright, let's continue. I'm Mara. I'm not rich. I'm not loud. And I'm definitely not the kind of woman people notice when she walks into a room. But I can cook. Not fancy food you see on television. I cook food that makes people close their eyes on the first bite. Food that reminds you of home, even if you don't know where home is anymore. Cooking was the only thing that ever made me feel seen. And that's how I ended up here. In her kitchen, wearing her apron, cooking for her guests. Her name was Daphne Caldwell. Tall, perfect hair, perfect nails, perfect smile that never reached her eyes. She was my sister-in-law. And to the outside world, she was kind enough to give me work. To me, she was something else entirely. It started 3 weeks earlier, when my phone rang at 5:13 a.m. I was already awake. I always wake up early. Old habits from a life where rest was a luxury. Mara, Daphne said, her voice sharp and sweet at the same time. I'm hosting a small dinner party. I'll need you to cook. I sat up in bed. Okay, I said softly. How many people? She paused like the number didn't matter. Oh, maybe 25. Or 35. Something like that. My fingers tightened around the phone. That's a big difference, I said carefully. I need to plan. She laughed. That same laugh. Oh, please, she said. Your family. Just cook. Family. That word always tasted bitter in my mouth. You see, I wasn't always the poor one. I wasn't always the one people called only when they needed something. I used to be married to Evan Caldwell, Daphne's younger brother. The kindest man I ever knew. And the reason my life broke in half. Evan believed in me. When I said I wanted to open a small food business, he smiled like I'd already succeeded. When I doubted myself, he stood taller so I could lean on him. But belief doesn't stop accidents. One rainy night. One slick road. One phone call that came too late. Evan died 3 years ago. And when he did, everything changed. Especially Daphne. At first, she hugged me. She brought soup. She said the right words. But slowly, the warmth faded. The calls stopped. The invitations disappeared. Until one day, she showed up at my door with a smile that felt heavy. I thought of you, she said. You can cook for my events. I'll pay you. She said it like she was saving me. I needed the money. So I said yes. That's how I became the invisible cook. Every birthday. Every charity dinner. Every celebration. I was always in the kitchen while laughter floated in from the living room. No one asked me to sit. No one asked if I was tired. I was just useful. Back in the present, the kitchen felt too small. Pots lined the counter. 3 different dishes going at once. Rice steaming. Sauce bubbling. I wiped my hands on my apron and checked my list again. 35 plates. 35 portions. I had decided to cook for 35, just to be safe. That meant more work. More stress. More time on my feet. But I didn't complain. I never did. That's when Daphne walked in, heels clicking like she owned the air itself. She looked around the kitchen with quick eyes. She said. You're still cooking? Yes, I replied. I wasn't sure of the final number, so She waved her hand. Oh, Mara, she laughed. You worry too much. Then she leaned against the counter, scrolling on her phone. I told you, she said without looking up. 25 or 35 guests, who cares? Just cook. Her laugh followed the words. Light. Careless. Cruel. Something in me snapped. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Quietly. Like a thread finally breaking after being pulled too long. I looked at my hands. Hands that had cooked for everyone but myself. Hands that had wiped tears into dish towels. Hands that had held Evan's once, and now only held spoons. I realized something then. She didn't see me as family. She didn't see me as a person. I was just the apron. Mara, she said sharply. Did you hear me? I slowly untied the knot behind my waist. The apron slid off my shoulders. And for the first time in years, I stood up straight. She frowned. What are you doing? I placed the apron gently on the counter. And that's when I spoke. But what I said next, what I chose to do next, would change everything. The kitchen went quiet. Not the peaceful kind of quiet. The heavy kind. The kind that presses against your chest and makes it hard to breathe. Daphne stared at the apron on the counter like it had personally offended her. Mara, she said, her voice lower now. What is this? I didn't answer right away. For the first time in years, I allowed myself to feel the silence instead of filling it with apologies. I turned off the stove. One burner. Then another. The sound of the gas clicking off felt louder than her heels. I'm done, I said finally. She laughed again, short, sharp fake. Done with what? She asked. The soup still needs salt. I looked at her. Really looked. Perfect dress. Gold bracelet. A phone that cost more than my monthly rent. And eyes that had never once asked if I was okay. I'm done being spoken to like I don't matter, I said. Her smile froze. What did you just say? I swallowed. My heart was racing, but my voice surprised me. It was calm. Steady. I asked how many guests, I said. You laughed. You said it didn't matter. But it matters to me. She crossed her arms. Oh, don't start this, she said. You're being dramatic. Dramatic. That word had followed me my whole life. When I cried after Evan died, dramatic. When I asked for time to grieve, dramatic. When I asked to be treated with respect, dramatic. Daphne stepped closer, lowering her voice. Listen, she said. Guests will be here soon. I don't have time for this mood of yours. Mood. Like exhaustion was a choice. Like disrespect was imaginary. I hired you, she added. You can't just stop. I felt something stir inside me. A memory. Evan's voice. Mara, one day you're going to realize how strong you are. And when that day comes, promise me you won't let anyone shrink you. I had promised. I had just forgotten. I didn't sign a contract, I said quietly. And I'm not your employee right now. She scoffed. Oh, please, she said. Without me, what would you be doing? You should be grateful. Grateful. For being humiliated? For being laughed at? For being treated like I was less? I shook my head slowly. I was grateful, I said. That's why I stayed quiet. That's why I kept cooking even when my legs hurt. That's why I ignored the way you talked to me. She rolled her eyes. So now you're quitting? She asked sarcastically. Over a joke? I looked at the food on the stove. Food I had poured my heart into. And then I made a decision. I reached for my bag. Daphne's eyes widened slightly. You're serious? She asked. Yes. She stepped in front of me, blocking the doorway. You can't leave, she said. Do you know how embarrassing this would be for me? There it was. Not concern. Not regret. Embarrassment. You won't embarrass me, she continued. You'll embarrass yourself. That hurt. But not the way she expected. It didn't break me. It freed me. I've been embarrassing myself for years, I said softly. By staying. She laughed again, but this time it was nervous. You're bluffing, she said. You always do this. You get emotional, then you calm down. She reached for the apron. Put this back on. I didn't move. The clock on the wall ticked louder now. 7:02 p.m. Guests would arrive soon. Mara, she said, her tone changing. Don't make this difficult. Difficult. Like I hadn't been swallowing difficulty every day since Evan died. I'll pay you more, she added quickly. Double. Triple. I stared at her. Money. That was her solution. I don't want more money, I said. She blinked. What? I want respect. She stared at me like I had spoken another language. Finally, her voice hardened. "If you walk out," she said, "don't expect me to call you again." I nodded. I wasn't expecting that anyway. Her jaw dropped. She stepped aside slowly, like she couldn't believe I was actually doing it. As I walked toward the door, my heart pounded so hard I could hear it in my ears. Half of me was terrified. The other half felt lighter than it had in years. My hand was on the door handle when she spoke again. "You know," she said coldly, "Evan would be disappointed in you." That stopped me. Her words hit me like a slap. I turned around. My hands were shaking now. "You don't get to use his name," I said quietly. She smirked. "He wouldn't like this side of you," she said. Running away. I took a step toward her. "No," I said. "He would be proud." For the first time, she didn't have a response. I opened the door. And as I stepped outside, the cool evening air hit my face. Freedom. Fear. Both at once. But as the door closed behind me, I had no idea that what I left behind in that kitchen would turn into something much bigger than a ruined dinner. Something that would come back to haunt Daphne and lift me in ways I never imagined. I didn't get far. I made it halfway down the driveway before my legs began to shake. Not because I regretted leaving, but because for the first time in years, I had chosen myself. I sat in my old car, hands gripping the steering wheel, heart pounding like it wanted to escape my chest. What have I done? How will I pay rent? What if she was right? Then, a doorbell rang behind me. Then another. And another. I glanced at the house through my rearview mirror. Lights were on. Cars were pulling in. Guests were arriving. Right on time. I turned the key and drove away. I didn't look back. Not yet. Back at Daphne's house, the first guest stepped inside smiling. "Wow," she said. "It smells amazing in here." Daphne forced a laugh. "Oh yes," she replied. "We're just finishing up." She walked into the kitchen and stopped. The pots were there. The food was half prepared. But the stove was cold. "Mara," she called. No answer. Her smile twitched. She checked the hallway. Empty. Her phone buzzed. A message from a guest. "We're parking now." Her heart dropped. "Where is she?" Daphne muttered. She grabbed a spoon, tasted the sauce, and frowned. It wasn't done. She added salt. Too much. She stirred again, faster this time. The doorbell rang again. "Daphne," someone called. "Do you need help?" "No," she shouted. "Everything is under control." It wasn't. Within minutes, the kitchen became chaos. The chicken wasn't fully cooked. The rice burned at the bottom. The sauce separated. Daphne's hands shook as she tried to fix everything at once. She had never cooked a full meal in her life. She didn't even know where she kept half the spices. Out in the dining room, laughter filled the air. People chatted. Glasses clinked. Someone asked, "When is dinner?" Daphne smiled too hard. "Soon," she said. "Just 5 minutes." 5 minutes passed. Then 10. The smell in the kitchen changed. Burnt. Sharp. Wrong. A guest peeked in. "Do you want me to help?" she asked kindly. Daphne snapped. "No." She slammed a pot down so hard the lid rattled. Her phone buzzed again. A text. "Mara. I left the groceries receipt on the counter." That was it. No apology. No explanation. Just a quiet goodbye. Daphne stared at the screen, rage rising in her chest. "How dare she?" she hissed. Meanwhile, I was driving with no destination. Streetlights blurred past as tears finally fell. Not loud tears. The quiet kind. The kind you cry when no one is watching. I pulled into a small gas station parking lot and turned off the engine. I rested my forehead on the steering wheel. "I did the right thing," I whispered. But doubt crept in anyway. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. "Hello. Is this Mara Caldwell?" My stomach dropped. "Yes. This is Mrs. Hensley. I'm calling from Willow Creek Community Center." I sat up. "Oh yes. I got your number from Evan's old email contacts," she said gently. "I hope that's okay." "Evan." My chest tightened. "Yes, that's fine. We're hosting a memorial fundraiser tomorrow," she continued. Our caterer canceled last minute. Evan once told me you were an amazing cook. I closed my eyes. He remembered. He did. Yes, she said warmly. He said your food brings people together. I was wondering, would you be available? I swallowed hard. I just walked out of a job, I said honestly. She paused. Then maybe this is perfect timing. Back at Daphne's house, the situation was falling apart. Dinner was served late. Very late. The chicken was dry. The rice was mushy. The sauce tasted wrong. Guests exchanged polite smiles and whispered comments. This isn't like Daphne, someone murmured. I thought she hired that woman. Evan's wife, another said. Daphne's ears burned. She forced laughter. Oh, she couldn't make it today, she lied. Then someone asked the question she feared. Who cooked this? Daphne hesitated. I did. A pause. Oh, the woman said slowly. That explains it. The table went quiet. I hung up the phone with Mrs. Hensley, my hands trembling. Yes, I said. I can do it. She sounded relieved. Oh, thank you. Evan would be so proud. I stared out at the dark sky. For the first time since he died. His name didn't hurt. It warmed me. As I drove home, something shifted inside me. I wasn't just walking away from disrespect. I was walking toward something new. Something mine. And while Daphne was scrubbing burnt pots and smiling through humiliation, I was stepping into a moment she could never control. But what none of us knew yet was that this fundraiser would put me in the same room as someone powerful. Someone who remembered Evan. Someone who would change my life forever. The next evening came faster than I expected. I barely slept. My mind kept replaying everything. Daphne's laugh. The apron on the counter. Evan's name spoken gently by a stranger. By 4:30 p.m., I was standing in my small kitchen, tying my hair back, staring at my reflection in the microwave door. You can do this, I whispered. My kitchen was nothing like Daphne's. No marble counters. No fancy lights. Just chipped tiles, old pans, and memories. But this kitchen had heard my laughter. It had seen my tears. And tonight, it would help me rise. I cooked like my life depended on it. Not rushed. Not afraid. I moved with confidence I didn't know I still had. The fundraiser menu was simple. Herb roasted chicken. Creamy rice. Slow-cooked vegetables. Fresh bread. Nothing flashy. Just honest food. The kind Evan loved. When I arrived at Willow Creek Community Center, the sun was setting. Warm light spilled through the windows. Cars lined the parking lot. People were already gathering. I parked, took a deep breath, and carried my food inside. The smell followed me. Heads turned. Wow, someone whispered. Mrs. Hensley spotted me immediately. Mara, she said, smiling wide. You made it. She hugged me before I could even react. That hug, it felt like permission to belong. The hall buzzed with soft conversation. Photos lined the walls. Community events. Smiling faces. Then I saw it. A framed picture near the entrance. Evan. Younger. Laughing. Holding a microphone. My breath caught. That was from the year he helped us raise funds for the shelter, Mrs. Hensley said softly. He spoke so beautifully that night. I touched the frame gently. I didn't know, I whispered. She smiled sadly. He never bragged. But everyone remembered him. Everyone except his own sister. As I set up the food, people kept stopping. This smells incredible. Who made this? Can I try a bite? I nodded, smiling shyly. Their reactions were instant. Eyes closing. Smiles spreading. One man laughed. This tastes like home. My chest tightened. That was Evan's favorite phrase. Then I heard a voice behind me. Mara. I turned. And my heart skipped. Mr. James Whitmore. Evan's former boss. The man who once offered Evan a promotion he never got to take. He looked older now. More tired. But his eyes widened with recognition. I'd know that smile anywhere, he said. You're Evan's wife. I nodded. He stepped forward and hugged me. I'm so sorry, he said quietly. We all were devastated. Tears filled my eyes. Thank you. He glanced at the food table. You cooked this? Yes. He took a bite. Then another. Then he froze. Mara, he said slowly. Why didn't you ever open a place? I laughed nervously. Life happened. He studied me. Well, he said, life has a strange way of correcting itself. Across town, Daphne sat alone in her living room. Her phone buzzed with messages. Food was terrible. What happened last night? You should have hired Mara like usual. Her jaw clenched. She opened social media. And there it was. A photo from the fundraiser. People smiling. Plates full. Caption: honoring Evan Caldwell. Beautiful night, amazing food. Tagged Mara Caldwell. Her breath caught. Back at the community center, the night flowed smoothly. Donations poured in. Laughter filled the room. At the end of the night, Mrs. Hensley raised a glass. Tonight, she said, was special. And not just because of Evan, but because of the woman who cooked with her heart. Applause filled the hall. I stood frozen. Spotlight on me. Come up here, Mara, she said. My legs trembled as I stepped forward. I just want to say, I began, voice shaking. Thank you for remembering Evan. And for reminding me that I still matter. The applause grew louder. Mr. Whitmore approached me afterward. I'm hosting a corporate event next month, he said. Would you consider catering? My breath caught. Yes, I said. I'll send details, he smiled. Opportunity. Real opportunity. As I packed up, my phone buzzed. A text from Daphne. Daphne, we need to talk. I stared at the screen. The woman who laughed at me. The woman who told me to just cook. Now she needed me. I slipped my phone back into my pocket. Some conversations don't deserve immediate answers. As I walked out into the night, the cool air wrapped around me. I looked up at the stars. Did you see that, Evan? I whispered. I didn't disappear. And somewhere deep inside, I felt it. This was only the beginning. Because Daphne hadn't just lost a cook. She had awakened something she could no longer control. I didn't reply to Daphne's message that night. I went home. I took off my shoes. I sat on the edge of my bed and let the silence settle. For once, the silence didn't feel lonely. It felt earned. The next morning, I woke up to sunlight on my face. That alone felt strange. No rushing. No dread. Just calm. I made myself tea and stood by the window, watching people pass by on the street below. That's when I heard it. Knock. 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 Sharp. Urgent. I froze. No one ever came to my place unannounced. I walked slowly to the door and looked through the peephole. My stomach tightened. Daphne. Perfect hair. Dark sunglasses. Arms crossed. She looked irritated. I opened the door just enough to speak. What do you want? I asked. She pushed her sunglasses up. We need to talk, she said. I didn't step aside. We already did, I replied. In the kitchen. She sighed dramatically. Mara, don't be like this. Like what? Like someone with boundaries? I saw the pictures, she continued. From last night. I said nothing. So, she added, you left my event to cook for strangers? I smiled slightly. They weren't strangers, I said. They remembered Evan. Her jaw tightened. Don't start with that, she snapped. She stepped closer. You embarrassed me, she said. I leaned against the doorframe. No, I said calmly. You embarrassed yourself. Her eyes flashed. You think because a few people clapped for you that you've changed? She scoffed. I met her gaze. I think I finally stopped shrinking. That stopped her. She looked at me like she was seeing me for the first time. And she didn't like it. You owe me, she said suddenly. I blinked. I owe you. Yes, she snapped. I gave you work when no one else would. I took a slow breath. No, I said. You took advantage of someone who was grieving. She laughed bitterly. Oh, please. You should be thanking me. I shook my head. Do you know how many times you laughed at me? I asked. Do you know how many times you corrected me in front of your friends? Do you know how small you made me feel? She rolled her eyes. You're too sensitive. There it was again. Sensitive people feel, I said. You wouldn't understand. Her face hardened. You walked out, she said. You ruined my night. I shrugged. You said it didn't matter. Silence. She didn't like being reminded of her own words. She changed tactics. Her voice softened. Mara, listen, she said. Let's forget all this. I have another dinner next week. Bigger guests. Important people. I stared at her. You're offering me my apron back? She hesitated. I'm offering you money. I laughed. It surprised both of us. No, I said. You're offering control. Her smile vanished. You think you're better than me now, she hissed. I shook my head. No, I think I'm better to myself. She stared. Then she leaned in, lowering her voice. You know what people say about you, she whispered. That you only got attention last night because of Evan. That hurt, but not the way she hoped. I stood taller. And what did you get? I asked quietly. Without him. Her face went pale. She straightened up quickly. Fine, she snapped. Do whatever you want. Just don't expect help from this family again. Family. I smiled sadly. Family doesn't laugh when you're exhausted. I gently closed the door. And locked it. I leaned against it, heart pounding. That confrontation had been a long time coming. But it wasn't over. Not even close. Later that afternoon my phone rang. Mr. Whitmore again. Mara, he said warmly. I shared your food with a few colleagues. They loved it. My stomach flipped. There's someone I want you to meet, he continued. Very influential. I sat down. When? Tonight, he said. Opportunity knocked twice. Across town, Daphne sat in her car, gripping the steering wheel. Her phone buzzed. A message from one of her friends. Who is catering Whitmore's event tonight? She frowned and typed back. No idea. 3 dots appeared. Then the reply came. I think it's Mara. Daphne's breath caught. That night, as I prepared to step into a room filled with power and possibility, Daphne realized something terrifying. She hadn't just lost control of me. She had underestimated me. And that mistake would cost her more than her pride. The venue was nothing like the community center. Tall glass windows. Soft golden lights. White tablecloths so crisp they looked untouched by human hands. This was where decisions were made. Where names carried weight. I stood in the catering prep room, smoothing my blouse, my heart beating hard. You belong here, I told myself. Even if part of me still didn't believe it. Mr. Whitmore greeted me with a warm smile. You ready? He asked. I nodded. Good, he said. Because there's someone I want you to meet. But first, do what you do best. I took a deep breath and stepped into motion. The kitchen staff watched me carefully at first. I wasn't wearing a uniform. I wasn't loud. But once they tasted the food, everything changed. Who taught you this? One chef asked. Life, I replied softly. Guests began arriving. Laughter. Handshakes. Low voices full of importance. Plates went out. And the reaction was instant. People paused mid-conversation. Brows lifted. Someone laughed in surprise. This is incredible, a woman said. Who catered this? My name traveled quietly at first. Then louder. That's when I heard her voice. Oh, you must be mistaken. I froze. Slowly I turned. Daphne stood near the entrance. Elegant dress. Perfect posture. Her eyes scanned the room. Then they landed on me. And everything stopped. Her smile flickered. Just for a second. Then it returned, tight, forced. Mara, she said, as if confused. What are you doing here? I met her gaze calmly. Working, I replied. She laughed softly. You, she said. Here. Several people nearby turned to listen. Mr. Whitmore stepped in. Yes, he said. Mara is our caterer tonight. Daphne's eyes widened. Caterer? She repeated. Yes, he continued. Have you tried the food? She swallowed. I know. Well, he smiled. You should. It's exceptional. Daphne forced a smile and took a bite. Her face changed. Not dramatically, but enough. She knew. This was my work. And everyone could taste it. One of the guests turned to her. You know Mara? He asked. She hesitated. Yes, she said. She's family. I raised an eyebrow slightly. Is she? The man smiled. She's very talented. Daphne nodded stiffly. Yes. Very. Mr. Whitmore clinked his glass. May I have everyone's attention? The room quieted. I want to take a moment, he said. To thank the woman behind tonight's meal. He gestured toward me. Mara Caldwell. Applause filled the room. My chest tightened. Daphne stood frozen. Mara's husband, Mr. Whitmore continued, was once a valued colleague and friend. He spoke often of her gifts. Tonight, she honored him beautifully. All eyes turned to Daphne. The connection was clear. The truth unavoidable. After the applause, Daphne approached me. Her voice was low. "You planned this," she hissed. I shook my head. "No," I said. "I just showed up." Her hands clenched. "You're enjoying this," she snapped. I met her gaze. "I'm enjoying being seen." She laughed nervously. "Don't forget where you came from," she warned. I smiled gently. "I remember. That's why I moved forward." Later, as guests continued praising the food, someone asked Daphne directly, "Why haven't we seen Mara at your events lately?" The room went quiet. Daphne opened her mouth, closed it, then smiled weakly. "She's very busy." I stepped forward. I said calmly, "cooking." Laughter rippled through the room. Not mocking. Knowing. Daphne's face burned. She excused herself and walked out. Her heels clicked faster than usual. As the night wound down, Mr. Whitmore approached me again. "I want to invest in you," he said simply. My breath caught. "Invest?" "A kitchen. Equipment. Connections," he said. "You deserve more than borrowed spaces." Tears filled my eyes. I don't know what to say. He smiled. "Say yes." Outside, the city lights glowed. I stood alone for a moment, breathing it in. I had taken off the apron. And instead of falling, I had risen. But Daphne wasn't done. And neither was the truth. Because the next step would force her to confront something she had avoided for years. And this time, she wouldn't control the narrative. Daphne didn't sleep that night. Neither did I. But for very different reasons. I sat at my small kitchen table long after midnight, staring at the business card Mr. Whitmore had placed in my hand. "Call me tomorrow," he'd said. My heart was still racing. Not from fear. From possibility. I traced the edges of the card slowly, thinking about how close I'd come to staying silent forever. How close I'd been to believing Daphne's voice over my own. Across town, Daphne paced her bedroom like a trapped animal. Her phone lay face down on the dresser. She didn't want to see the messages. She already knew what they said. The food was amazing. Why didn't you ever tell us Mara was that talented? She seemed so kind. Kind. That word made her chest burn. She poured herself a drink and stared at the mirror. For the first time in years, she didn't like the reflection staring back. The next morning, a letter arrived at my door. No return address. Just my name, written in handwriting I knew too well. My hands trembled as I opened it. "Mara, if you're reading this, it means I didn't get the chance to say everything out loud." I covered my mouth. "Evan, I asked Mr. Whitmore to give this to you if anything ever happened to me. He promised." My knees buckled. I sat down hard in the chair. "I know my sister. I know how she can be. And I'm sorry if she ever made you feel small." Tears blurred the words. "You are the strongest person I know. Not because you endure pain, but because you turn it into warmth." I sobbed quietly. "If one day you take off that apron, I hope it's because you finally choose yourself." My breath caught. He knew. "Please don't disappear. The world needs your kindness. And so do you. Love always. Evan." I held the letter to my chest and cried. Not the broken kind. The healing kind. That afternoon, my phone rang. Daphne's name flashed on the screen. I let it ring. Then ring again. Finally, a message appeared. "Daphne, we need to talk." About Evan. My heart tightened. Some words carry weight. This was one of them. I agreed to meet her. Not for her. For closure. We met at a quiet cafe. Neutral ground. She arrived late. No sunglasses this time. Her eyes were tired. She sat across from me, fingers wrapped tightly around her cup. "I didn't know," she said finally. I waited. "About the letter," she continued. "Mr. Whitmore told me." I nodded. "He wrote one for you too," I said. Her head snapped up. "He did?" "Yes." She swallowed hard. "I never read it," she whispered. She stared at the table. "I was angry," she said. After he died. Angry at the world. At you. Why me? I asked quietly. She hesitated. Because he chose you, she admitted. Because you made him happy in a way I never could. Silence settled between us. Heavy. Honest. I thought if I kept you small, she said, I'd feel bigger. That was the closest thing to an apology she could manage. I didn't smile. But I didn't gloat either. I'm not angry anymore, I said. But I won't go back. She nodded slowly. I know. As we stood to leave, she stopped me. Mara, she said. I was wrong. I met her eyes. That was enough. Later that evening, I called Mr. Whitmore. I'm ready, I said. He smiled through the phone. I knew you would be. As I hung up, I looked at Evan's letter again. You were right, I whispered. I didn't disappear. But the story wasn't finished. Because what came next would test everything I had rebuilt and reveal the true cost of laughter without kindness. Success doesn't arrive quietly. It knocks. Loudly. And sometimes, it knocks everything else over. The kitchen Mr. Whitmore helped me secure was small but beautiful. White walls. Steel counters. A stove that actually worked without coaxing. The first time I turned on the lights, I stood still for a long moment. This is mine, I whispered. Not borrowed. Not temporary. Mine. Orders came quickly. Too quickly. A corporate lunch. A birthday dinner. A charity brunch. My name moved from mouth to mouth faster than I could keep up. Mara's food. You have to try Mara's cooking. She cooked at Whitmore's event. I worked day and night. Hands aching. Feet burning. But I didn't complain. Because this time, I chose it. Still, exhaustion has a way of sneaking up on you. One evening, as I lifted a heavy pot, pain shot through my wrist. I gasped and dropped it. The pot clanged loudly. Sauce splattered across the floor. I leaned against the counter, breathing hard. Not again, I thought. Not when I've come this far. The doctor was gentle. You've been pushing too hard, he said. You need rest. Rest. The word sounded impossible. I can't stop, I said quietly. He looked at me seriously. If you don't, your body will stop you. That night, I sat alone in the kitchen, lights dimmed. The hum of the fridge was the only sound. I thought of Daphne, of how she never lifted a finger, but always stood tall. And I realized something important. Strength wasn't just endurance. Strength was knowing when to slow down. I hired help. It scared me. Trusting others always did. But little by little, the kitchen filled with voices. Laughter. Music. Life. Then the call came. The one that shook everything. Mara, Mr. Whitmore said urgently. There's been an accident at the venue for tomorrow's gala. My stomach dropped. What kind of accident? A fire, he said. Minor, but the kitchen is unusable. Silence. This was the biggest event yet. Hundreds of guests. Media. Everything I'd built led to this. I understand if you can't do it, he added. I closed my eyes. Evan's voice echoed softly. Don't disappear. I'll find a way, I said. I worked through the night. Borrowed space. Called favors. Moved mountains with shaking hands. My team showed up without hesitation. We've got you, they said. And for the first time, I believed them. The gala went on. Perfectly. Plates went out hot. Guests applauded. A reporter asked for my name. I gave it. Clearly. Proudly. Across the room I saw Daphne. She hadn't been invited. But she stood near the back, watching. Not with anger. With something else. Understanding. Later, as the night ended, she approached me quietly. You did this, she said. I nodded. Yes. She hesitated. I never knew how much work it took, she admitted. I met her gaze. Now you do. She nodded once. And walked away. I stood alone again, surrounded by empty plates and soft lights. My body was tired, but my heart was full. Because success hadn't broken me. It had shaped me. Still, one final chapter remained. A choice. A message. And a moment that would define the story's end. Success has a strange way of exposing people. Not loudly. Not cruelly. Just clearly. The week after the gala, my name appeared in places I never imagined. A local paper ran a short story. From grief to greatness, the woman behind the apron. A food blog requested an interview. A small television station left a voicemail. I didn't rush. I remembered who I used to be. The woman who said yes to everything out of fear. This time I chose carefully. One afternoon, as I was reviewing menus with my team, the front door opened slowly. I looked up. Daphne stood there. No heels. No designer bag. Just Daphne. She looked smaller somehow. I didn't know if you'd want to see me, she said. I didn't answer right away. Come in, I said finally. She stepped inside and looked around. The kitchen buzzed with quiet confidence. People working. People respecting one another. This is yours, she asked. Yes. She nodded slowly. I heard someone call you Chef Mara, she said softly. I smiled. I answer to it now. She hesitated, then said the words I never expected. I laughed at you, she said. I made you feel small. Silence followed. And I was wrong. No excuses. No jokes. Just truth. I thought power was about control, she continued. But watching you, I see now. Power is about dignity. I met her eyes. I didn't take off the apron to punish you, I said. I took it off to save myself. Her eyes filled with tears. I lost my brother, she whispered. And instead of grieving, I hardened. I nodded. So did I said. But I chose differently. She reached into her bag and pulled out an envelope. It's Evan's letter, she said. The one he wrote for me. My heart tightened. I read it last night. She swallowed. He told me to be kind when it was hardest. She looked up. I failed. I didn't hug her. But I didn't turn away either. You can still choose differently, I said. She nodded. I know. As she turned to leave, she paused. I won't ask for forgiveness, she said. I just wanted you to know. I see you now. I watched her walk out. And for the first time, I didn't feel anger. I felt peace. That night, I stayed late in the kitchen. I found the old apron folded in a drawer. I held it for a moment. Then I placed it gently in the trash. Some things are meant to be outgrown. But the story wasn't truly over. Because there was one last thing to do. One last thing to say. Not just for me, but for anyone listening. If you take one thing from this story, let it be this. The moment I took off that apron wasn't about quitting. It was about choosing myself. For years, I believed silence was strength. That endurance meant worth. That being useful meant being valued. I was wrong. The day she laughed and said, 25 or 35 guests, who cares? Just cook. She didn't just dismiss my work. She dismissed me. And the moment I untied that apron, I finally listened to the quiet voice inside that said, you deserve respect. Some people will only see your value. As long as you stay convenient. The moment you stand up, they call you difficult. But growth always feels uncomfortable. To those who benefited from your silence, I didn't rise because I wanted revenge. I rose because I stopped shrinking. And here's the truth. You don't owe loyalty to disrespect. You don't owe silence to people who belittle you. You don't owe your gifts to anyone who laughs at your limits. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away. If you're watching this and you feel unseen, if you've been laughed at for asking for basic respect, if you've been told, just do it, while your heart breaks quietly, this story is for you. You are not weak. You are not dramatic. And you are not invisible. Moral lessons of this story. Respect matters more than money. Silence can slowly destroy your self-worth. Walking away is not failure, it's self-rescue. Your gift deserves dignity. The right people will see you without you begging. And now, let me hear from you. Drop a comment below. What part of this story touched you the most? Have you ever had to walk away from disrespect? Like this video if this story spoke to you. Subscribe for more real-life emotional stories. Share this with someone who might need courage today. Because sometimes, all it takes to change everything is the courage to take off the apron. The end.